keep that in mind. All right, so today we're going to talk about voices of the past. We're going to do some analysis of primary and secondary sources. With a show of hands, if that sounds like something you've learned about before, a primary or a secondary source, can you just raise your hand?
Wait, what are we raising about?
If you've ever heard of a primary or a secondary source.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to kind of gauge an understanding.
I do.
We're going to watch a video right now. And in honor of Indigenous Peoples Month, we're going to talk about the struggles of Native Americans while strengthening our analysis skills. As we watch this video, I'm just going to ask that all of you kind of put yourself in the shoes of a Native American and think about how you would feel going through these things.
I am Native
I
American.
love that.
You read a book
so much. What was that word?
Oh, that's so cool.
Someone was talking.
It wasn't
Ready?
for us.
Why they were moving west and the technological closeness that made it possible. However, it's important to remember that in every part of our history, there are multiple perspectives. Often, when one group gets what it wants, other groups don't. In order to develop a complete picture of westward expansion, we also have to look at the perspectives of the people who were displaced and treated as less than in order for the U.S. government to get what it wanted.
So,
In part two, we are going to
really quick, I'm going to pause. So, in American history, westward expansion, that phrase talks about after the colonies. You guys are all going to eventually learn about the colonies on the East Coast. This is the part of American history when we start moving west to California. As we move west to California, the people that are actively living there, the Native Americans, are going to slowly get displaced
Isn't this the one?
or like pushed out. Yes.
Isn't this the time like after the? This is like the Sacagawea time.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's around that time.
Yeah, so it's after the American Revolution.
Mhm.
Wait, so I forget his name, but you know there was this guy. He was black, and he went with them, and he saved a ton of people's life. I think his name was like Tom.
I'm not too sure, but I can definitely look into it. That's really
And then
interesting.
for some reason I forget his name, but we learned a lot about him in like fifth grade, I think it was.
Mhm.
And there was this and now there's this statue. So there was a statue of like this very sexist guy or something, and some people in the middle of the night pushed it off and put a statue of him up.
Oh wow. All right, I'm going to press play. Thank you, Connor.
refocus on the Native American tribes that had long lived in the Western territories, way before the United States existed. We are going to look at the westward expansion movement from their perspective. Our central question for this lesson is this: how did westward expansion impact Native American communities? First, Native American tribes like the Lakota and the Cheyenne had been living in the Western territories for thousands of years before the United States existed as a country. They didn't believe in land ownership, so their people used the land freely as needed. In the early 1800s, settlers began to move into the area, and they had a very different opinion. Americans believed that the U.S. owned the land, and in Manifest Destiny, which stated that they had a God-given right to continue to spread throughout the land.
So Native Americans, one second, I'll answer your question. Native Americans did not believe anyone could own the land. They believed they were one with the earth, one with the, they were one with the people around them, and that anything that they were given from the earth was to be shared. White settlers that came from the Europe area, they thought differently. They believed that it was man's right, it was their God-given right to own the land. So right away we're seeing like two completely different outlooks on like how one should live their lives. Aggie.
So by God even did they get God and like here, take this land.
Yes. White
Who-
settlers.
Who said that though?
It's really crazy, but it was this idea of manifest destiny, which is also
But
something
it's
to
so
learn
much
about.
better than like the idea that everyone there has to be one leader who like controls everyone.
Yeah, it's very different. It's like when you think that,
Whoa.
like, when you think about the difference of people who thought of the earth as something to be shared versus something to be owned, it's a very stark difference. Kaylin.
And I forgot what to say. It was like
That's fine. If it comes back to you, you let me know. I'm going to play this for a little bit longer, and then we're going to move on.
Americans also viewed Native Americans as uncivilized people who didn't make good enough use of the land, so therefore it could be rightfully taken away from them.
Who gave them the right?
Native
No
Americans strongly opposed westward expansion and would ultimately be forced to fight for their lands. Beginning in 1830, with the Indian Removal Act, the U.S. government sanctioned the forced relocation of Native American tribes in the interest of expanding the U.S. population.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
More
the
than
government made them move.
46,000 Native Americans were forced from their homes in states like Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee into what they called Indian Territory that is now.
So if you, I hate that I didn't pause on what I wanted to pause, but if you, where was that just now?
It was like
Here?
No, no. For the white, like
Oh,
there.
yeah. Okay, cool. So if I was a Native American who lived in Florida, like pretend Florida's right here, if I lived in Florida, after the government made this rule, I had to walk with my family. I had to walk, right, on foot from Florida. I had to walk on foot to a completely different state in the middle of America.
Isn't it called like the path of tears?
Yeah, the Trail of Tears. Yeah, so this, great. I love you guys have so much background knowledge this already. So like known as the Trail of Tears, they were forced out of their home because the white man believed that this should be their home now, right? So these settlers came in and the government, American government, after the revolution and all that stuff, they were like, this is our land.
Not fair.
Go away. And they forced all of these people all the way over here, right? So we're going to be talking a little bit about this act and how different people experienced it. Lila, yes.
So you said that I can see that the red one,
Mhm.
the red path, it goes over the water. Did they have like little rafts or boats or something?
They
No,
did
I had to
know.
walk on water.
Some
No,
tribes.
I'm curious.
No, it's a
If they
good
had to
question.
swim or
So the
something.
Seminole, I'll sit here for a second. So the Seminole, which are the tribe that would be coming out of Florida, if you think about it, every tribe kind of had different skills because of where they grew up. And in the same way that like Long Island tribes, because there were tribes on Long Island, they were really good at building boats. The Seminoles knew how to make rafts. They weren't like the big ships that we saw people crossing
But they
oceans
were
with.
good enough.
But there was like a little raft. So some of them might have cut the corners across the Gulf, but other of them, like maybe if your dad wasn't the best boat builder, like you might have had to walk all the way around and then all the way up, right?
Wait,
It was
so
so hard.
would they be like voting for days?
Did they not get horses?
Days. So horses weren't native to the Americas. The Spanish people brought them over. By this point, some of them did have horses, but not every tribe owned
I was
horses.
confused because I was like, I remember looking back, I saw like the trolleys. And
Yeah. If you see, like, there was a screenshot, like, again, some tribes, like the Cherokee and the Creek, like these middle areas that were settled by Spaniards, they had access to horses before maybe some of the other tribes did. So every tribe was kind of starting off on a different level of struggle,
So
but they were all struggling.
Tribe had a different trail of tears?
Kind of, yeah, a different path, but it was all towards.
Leading towards this
Yes,
one.
if we all look at this back map here, there was tons of tribes living here on the East Coast, and no matter where they lived, they were given a plot of land, like almost right around here in Colorado.
What?
And every single person had to come live right here.
That would be so crowded.
Yep, it's still to this day, that's one of the only Native American reservations that are federally recognized at a large level. There are obviously others. I hope maybe we'll have time today, if not next class I'll show you. There's an interactive map that will show you every tribe and where they lived and where they came from in America.
Oh,
It's
I
really
thought,
cool.
I thought they keep on getting pushed back and back and back.
Yeah, tinier and tinier. But the map is like interactive, so it kind of shows you what existed, what doesn't exist anymore, and so on.
Oh wait, we're not gonna finish the video?
Do you really want to?
Yeah, tomato. Wait,
Okay. What's up?
so they all got relocated to the Four Corners.
Kind of. They got relocated to like, yeah, the four. Are you talking about right here?
Yeah.
Yes, like right here.
Yeah, so I see the whole area.
Similar there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. Yeah, you guys have really good.
telling you.
If you look at where like Florida is on that map, that's huge.
It's really hard. Yes.
And but isn't there, they craft some, so I went to the Four Corners, like a lot of bows there.
Yeah.
Like a bow knife.
Mm-hmm. They would craft a lot of things out of bison. That's what I'm teaching my
Yeah.
eighth graders right now. Bison. Mm-hmm.
What's that? Wait, you're teaching them how to craft?
No, I'm teaching them about how Native Americans crafted things out of bison. All right, I'm gonna press play.
American tribes in the interest of expanding the U.S. population. More than 46,000 Native Americans were forced from their homes in states like Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee into what they called Indian Territory that is now the state of Oklahoma. 4,000 people died on what became known as the Trail of Tears, and the forced relocation of Native Americans continued throughout the 19th century whenever the United States government wanted to control more land and expand its population westward.
So every time the United States
Time and
government
again,
decided
the
they
US
wanted more land, they would change the rules. right? Like we always think of rules as being fair, but like imagine you're in a race, and every time you think you're about to cross the finish line, the judge moves the line back. That happened every single time to these Native Americans. They thought they had their land, and again the line was moved and changed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who scams us?
Wait, I don't
U.S.
get that.
government forced treaties.
Like what part do you get?
Like, what do you mean when someone thinks like they're close to the? No, like if you're at the finish line, if you're like
It's a
one step-
hypothetical. Imagine you were about to finish the New York Marathon this past weekend, right? And you're at
right
the finish
here.
line, and you're like, great. And the guys who are celebrating at the end, instead of being like, yes, May, they're like, just kidding. You actually have to run an extra mile. You come meet me over here, and then they back up. Every single time Native Americans thought that they had found their home, the United States government would be like, oh wait, actually, we want that land too. Get out. Move. Move further west. Move further
Here's
west.
my question.
Yeah.
Why, if I know this is a terrible thing, just in general, or in the perspective of these people,
Yeah.
why did they not why did they not give them any land and instead of just killing them or something like that?
Like you're asking why did we even offer them land? Like why?
I know it's a terrible
It's a terrible question, but it's a good question. I think that at the end of the day, we look at this as like a super evil thing, but at the time, the white settlers didn't really think what they were doing was wrong. In the same way that someone who's really racist thinks that they're better than others, the white people kind of just thought, well, we're doing them a favor. They don't know how to use this land. They don't need all of this land, right? Like they didn't really want to get rid of them fully. They just were like, honestly, move them out of my way. And I will say that there were a lot of moments, and we're going to read about the Indian Wars. Eventually, they did just start showing them.
Wait,
It's
can I
very
have
sad.
a piece of like
Can I post it?
A post-it, or you want putty?
Putty.
Oh, can I play this?
Putty.
I can get you putty. Yeah. Fata, what's your question?
Also,
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes, definitely.
Actually wait until
why
campus.
does
Oh, I lied.
Brain does
Wait till we
not
get back.
want to work at all Tuesday?
It was literally his first day.
Why do you bowl?
I have a bowl
No,
of
it
whatever.
wasn't. No.
Here's our
No,
buddy.
no.
I just like have this. So like, I'll just-
No.
All right, we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna press play because I really want to get to our activity. I got a couple minutes.
And Native American tribes in order to get what they wanted. And time and again, the U.S. government broke those treaties to
So
get
like the
the
U.S.
next thing.
government continually
Over time,
repeated these,
Native Americans
broke
grew
these
to be
treaties,
rightful
right? Like so every time they would make a treaty,
American
the
government,
United
which
States
from
would
their
break it.
perspective took away their homeland and their cultural identity. One notable instance where tensions between the two boiled over came in June 1876. The U.S. government wanted land in the Montana Territory and required Native American tribes in the area to relocate.
So I'm gonna pause here because this is
City
actually what
Bull
we
and
want to do.
Crazy Horse.
Okay, so now what we're gonna do as a class, I'm gonna switch over out of this video. The ultimate thing that I want us to think about is after all of that, then we're gonna be in a war with these people, right? Like they keep pushing me out of my home, and now they're making me go to war with them. Mary, what's your question? No, there's a line right now, Mary, okay? So,
We don't want them.
I would not want to either. All right, so I'm going to hand out a worksheet right now that we're going to kind of use to continue on with this lesson, okay? So everyone does need a writing utensil. If everyone could grab one, and then Miss Hosney's going to hand out the worksheet, okay? So, actually, does someone want to hand out? Thank you. All right, Lila's going to hand out writing utensils while I kind of go over this activity as a class. Cool. Okay, so thinking about, all right, so thinking about the video we just watched and some of the things we just talked about, keeping in mind all the awesome questions that you guys raised, how would you feel, like just like with a show of hands and some simple emotions, oh, actually, would the person next to you first brainstorm on this telling frame some emotions that you would feel if you were kicked out of your home? Would the person next to you do some brainstorming? So if I was brainstorming with Miss Hosney, I'd be like, Miss Hosney, if I got kicked out of my home, I would feel sad.
So how would you feel about affected?
Yeah, how would you feel affected? So I want us to throw some ideas on the paper right now with your partner. And I really want you to think about the emotion behind it, right?
Lila, can I do
All
that
work separately. If you want to work separately, that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to work with a partner. I would feel lost.
Alright, so Kata, what you're gonna do is,
question.
Wait,
What
no.
And I'm
Honestly, like that's a reasonable assumption, right? Like wanting to fight someone that like different to you. Yeah, I'd say.
Wait, why don't we get it down?
So think about the emotions that you just felt as we talked about this and just put them on the page. So like, if I was kicked out of my home, I'd feel lost. I would feel sad.
Feel confused.
Mad.
Yeah,
That's what I wrote.
Confused.
I wrote confused because like, why do they want to do this? We didn't do anything to them.
Yep, I haven't done anything wrong. I want to share my land. I want to be, you know, a unit with these people. They want to kick me out. What are some other things that you guys said, Nuri? Angry, yeah, angry.
Scared.
You want to
Scared.
fight someone. That's angry. I demand two sacks of
I like argumentative, right?
I did right. Wants to argue.
Yeah. Right, you want to fight back. Makes it a lot easier. Yeah, I just, I get that.
Wait, this one like Dunkin' Donuts.
Girl, I don't know. I don't know.
Wait, am I the only one who thinks
You have
the
another
place
one,
only
Nuri?
Dunkin' Donuts?
What do you got, Nuri?
Hopeless.
Hopeless!
Oh, great
Yes.
word. Great word.
I did helpless.
Hey guys, I'm hearing a lot of side combos. I'm hearing a lot of side combos. We're doing a really fun lesson today, and I hope you guys would really like it. If you're not into it, that's fine, but just okay. You said hopeless, right?
Yeah.
And then I also heard helpless, which is also very different, right? Like
Yeah, that was me.
yes, thank you, May.
Oh, I'm gonna ask.
If you have no choice in what's happening to you, I would feel so helpless,
Oh,
right?
a coward.
Coward?
What? Like you have no power.
Depressed.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
like you feel like you can't stand up for yourself.
Yeah, powerless.
Depressed.
Yeah, depressed. Guys, these are great
Hatred.
ideas. Yeah.
Do I have to write all these down?
No. I'm just putting all your great ideas on the board. All right, I'm gonna stop here. So we got some really great emotions, right? These are really great emotions. If you were in their shoes, if you were at this place at this time, this is, I think, how we would all feel. Make sure you have some ideas on your sheet.
Wait, get depressed.
D-E-P-R-E-S-S.
Wait, spell it out for me.
D-E-P-R-E-S-S-E-D.
D-E-P-R-E-S-S-E-D.
Miss McCall told us, and I spelled it.
And also
two.
two.
Awesome. That's awesome.
I'm showing the minimum.
You write one
All right.
word.
We're doing photo.
So I need everyone eyes up here, eyes up here. We're gonna listen a little bit. We need this part of the information to continue the activity. So, in history, or in life really, because life is history, there are primary and secondary sources. This is also really important. We're on an election year. We're in the middle of election day, right? When we're thinking about facts and opinions and news, primary and secondary sources are always going to be the two avenues we can really get information from. So I want to talk about the difference between the two. Guys, please, I'm not going to ask again. All right, so a primary source is something that's created at the time of the event by someone or by someone who is actually there. So you want to think of it like a witness account or like a piece of evidence. Primary sources are important because they show us what people saw, they thought, or they felt right at the time. Also pretend this picture's not here, I have to delete it. It's not supposed to be
Wait,
there.
can I see it?
It's a book. It's supposed to be on the next slide. Pretend this is so not helpful with it being there. It's like getting information straight from someone, right? So Miss Hosni has a birthday party. She has so much fun. I see her the next day and I ask her how her birthday party was. That's a primary source, right?
Also, that could be like a diary.
Yeah, that's my diary.
That's your diary.
Yes.
Can I have the pie?
Yeah, you gotta give me a second though, okay? All right, so examples of primary source is like Miss Hosni just said, a diary written by someone in the Civil War, or just a diary in general. A photo taken of people.
Frank's diary.
Yeah, Anne Frank's diary. That's a perfect
Is
example.
that banned in some places?
Yep.
Yes.
We have it at our school.
There's a lot of banned books that I don't understand why they're banned.
It's because they don't want people to do the bad things that happen.
Yeah. But I honestly think that that's so important, right? Like, do you
They
remember?
want people
Yes,
to what?
yes, guys, yes.
And
So,
it's like, think about what we've been talking about in the Giver too.
Aggie, they don't want people to
They
what?
want to control.
Read
what
it because they don't want
are
people
trying
to
understand.
know what actually happened. And in some places, Heartstopper's banned because they're gay.
Ah!
but I want to circle back. There are a lot of different books that people ban for different reasons, but a large part is sadly people like to ignore the negative aspects of American history. And this right here is us learning the real stuff. When Miss Hosni and I, when Miss Hosni and I were in school, I promise you, we never learned about the outlook of Native Americans during this Guys, this is truly the last time, or we can hang out at lunch tomorrow, okay? Not saying it again. I'm being very kind about it right now. I'm so sorry, I lost my train of thought now.
Oh,
I
you
were
were
talking
saying
about like how you misheard me, like
Yeah,
didn't
you
have
were
this
never
before.
learning
Yeah,
Yeah.
we never learned about these
Yeah.
outlooks on life, right? We only learned it from the white man's perspective or the settler's perspective. Aggie?
It's because they don't want you to like know they don't want you to think, oh, this happened and where I live I feel guilty about it. They don't want you to think that. They want you to think it's their fault, that you're fine. And can I go to the bathroom?
Yes. Thank you.
All
right.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
In public schools, do they teach kids this stuff?
Nowadays I think they do, but when I was growing up they didn't.
No, I didn't know because I didn't know because I know
good
our
question.
school can, but I didn't know about.
In
That's a
my
really good
school,
question.
in my school, we never learned about
Yes, I think that's a really good question. So now, that's a primary source, right? Like someone's first-hand account. A secondary source is something that was created after the event by someone who wasn't really there, right? So I go ask Miss Hosney, how was your birthday? She says, it was great, it was really great. Then out of nowhere, Miss Draper comes down the hallway. Miss Draper was not at Miss Hosney's birthday party, but she starts telling me that it was chaotic, and it was this, and it was that. Is that a secondary account or a primary account? Secondary account, right? Because Miss Draper was not there. So a secondary source is by someone who wasn't there, and it's usually based on evidence and studying primary sources. So think of it like a research report, right? Like any report that you've ever done is a secondary source. Yes, Feta?
You can't really say, if like you're trying to say something happened, you can't really say that it happened,
Mm-hmm.
because like you weren't there.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe like the people that like saw what happened.
And your perspective is totally different,
Yeah.
right?
Totally different. And like, yep, it helps us understand, big picture helps us see different perspectives. Some examples of a secondary source are textbooks, a biography of a famous person, a website or an article with like, reviews and summaries. So there's really two different ways that we can analyze information. With that being said, if you guys can flip to the next page on your handout, it looks like this. I'm going to hand out and I'm going to read through two different types of sources, and we're going to try to analyze them together as a class, okay? So I'm going to hand them out, but I'll also read them through, and we're going to kind of go from there.
Who wants a lollipop?
Me.
Later.
Is that
Okay. So you're going to get two pieces of paper. I'm going to ask Ms. Hosey to hand out one, and I'm going to hand out the other.
That's absurd.
All right, so when you analyze something, what does that mean to you guys? When you hear the word analyze, like what do you think about? May? Research? Yeah. Feta,
Like,
trust yourself. You have good answers. Continue.
look, like you need to analyze this. Like, let's say you did something, like you need to check it again. Like going over it, like
Yeah.
looking at it,
Yeah.
and what makes it like research.
Yeah. So like what I'm hearing is like if you're analyzing something, you're looking really deeply into it. You're looking over it like with like a magnifying glass. Yes, Nuri.
Think
Yes.
about like the questions that you guys answer for English homework, right? Like in those questions, we're asking you to analyze different parts of the book.
Yes.
Oh no, the paper!
Okay, so you have two pieces of paper in front of you. You have one with a picture of a guy, his name is Chief Joseph, and then you have another one that like looks like a book report. Okay, those are our two sources. The one with the picture on it with the guy's face, that is a first-hand account. It is a primary source. I'm going to read through both of them and we're going to kind of work on this graphic organizer together. Okay?
Little before you
We can't putty.
Yeah, they're behind my popcorn bag. There's putty.
That one?
Sure. Whoever asked that for.
Not all at once,
And
guys.
we're not doing all putty.
This
Okay?
is not.
There's only two.
So I have two to share. Okay. And then we're gonna take a
One
seat.
here.
And then we're gonna take a seat. Beautiful.
All right, love it.
Yes.
Oh, it's a pencil
Did the
pen.
Americans like kidnap Native Americans and try to get them to like this?
Yes.
And that's like how slavery was invented.
brought up something really cool that we're going to learn about in our secondary source. But I want to tune into right now. Everyone's going to look at the page with the guy's face on it. We're going to read our primary source right now. So I need everyone's eyes on this page right here.
There's so many pages.
When we read this primary source, something you want to think about is finding a quote and then thinking about how he feels when you read that quote. And we're going to think about emotion. I'm going to read it because I want you guys
Is
to
he
really...
the chief of his tribe?
Yes, he's the chief of his tribe. So we're going to read an excerpt from a speech from Chief Joseph. Chief Joseph was a well-known leader of the Nez Perce during the Indian Wars. The Nez Perce were forced to leave their ancestral lands in East Oregon, Wallowa Valley, and move to the reservation in Idaho. In 1877, after several violent conflicts with white settlers, the Nez Perce decided to leave the reservation. They tried to reach Canada, where the Lakota people under Sitting Bull had taken refuge after the Battle of Little Bighorn.
What's Little Bighorn?
It was a battle that happened between the white settlers and then a bunch of Native American tribes.
Did they make it to Canada?
They did not.
What happened?
They kind of lost their fight and then ended up assimilating into American culture. All right, so I'm gonna read
Oh
now.
yeah, but didn't they force them to not celebrate or not
Yeah.
not like
They had to wear
celebrate
their
their
own
culture
clothes.
Yeah.
and do Christmas and
Mhm.
Easter.
So I'm gonna read this
Church.
speech right now. This is a speech from Chief Joseph, and I want you to keep in mind a quote from the text, and then an emotion behind it. Okay, so this is a speech that he gave after losing a battle. Tell General Howard I know his heart. What he told me before I have in my heart. I am tired of fighting. Our chiefs are killed. Looking Glass is dead. The old men are dead. It is the young men who said yes and no. He who led on the young men is dead. It is cold and we have no blankets. The little children are freezing. My people, some of them, have run away to the hills and have no blankets and no food. No one knows where they are, perhaps freezing to death. I want to have time to look for my children and see how many I can find. Maybe I shall find them among the dead. Hear me, chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever. So this is a speech that he gave after losing battle after battle. He kind of threw in the white flag and said, I'm done fighting. I want to go find my people and I want to be left alone.
Wait, what do you mean white flag?
Like
When you surrender, you kind of wave a white flag. Great question.
people
Sometimes
take sometimes they on their like their t-shirts, sometimes people will wear a white t-shirt in battle or something,
Mhm.
and they'll take their t-shirt and they'll be like, we surrender.
Like in
Yeah.
Because they
Hamilton.
don't
Yes,
like
exactly.
bring a flag with them wherever they
Yeah,
go.
and then they assimilated into the society after this.
Yeah.
Which is, it's basically, they took them to these places and they.
We're gonna read about it. Let me. No, I love it. You're gonna be able to talk about it. We're gonna get there. But first, I'm gonna read it over again, but I need everyone to look at the graphic organizer. We're gonna fill out the first boxes. So the first box says source type. What source type did I just read? Is it a primary or a secondary source? Primary. So that's what we're gonna put in our first box. We're gonna put primary source in our first box.
Are we gonna have to write all of it?
No, just read your box. You're good.
First one, source type, underneath
Source
source
type.
type.
Primary. Beautiful.
Right.
Now, you're going to look in this speech, and I want you to find a short quote, and you're going to pick it out, and then you're going to tell me what it shows. Now, Ms. McCollum, what does that even mean? If I was doing this, I might see the quote that says, I am tired, my heart is sick and sad, and maybe I write that down, and then I would say, this shows that the Native Americans were really tired from all of the mistreatment that they were facing. Maybe I say, the old men are dead. This shows, what does it show if this guy is saying that all these people are dead? Aggie? That their tribe is falling apart. So I want us right now to give our best try. I want us to look at the quotes in the speech and try our best to kind of create an argument behind that quote. And if you're like, Miss McCollum, what are you saying to me?
Miss McCullough, can you scribe for me?
Yeah, I will totally describe it for you.
Again, y'all should also be using this kind of thing. We do this a lot for English.
Wait, are you?
Those of you that had English today, you
Oh,
had a question.
Oh, yeah, I can totally read it again. Can I read it one more time and I'll start? Okay. Tell General Howard I know his heart. What he told me before I have in my heart. I am tired of fighting. Our chiefs are killed. Looking Glass is dead. The old men are dead, yes. The old men are dead. It is the young men who say yes and no. He who led on the young men is dead. It is cold and we have no blankets. The little children are freezing to death. My people, some of them, have run away to the hills and have no blankets, no food. No one knows where they are. Perhaps freezing to death. I want to have time to look for my children and see how many I can find. Maybe I shall find them among the dead. Hear me, chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever. Right, so he says from now on until forever, as long as there's a sun in the sky, I give in. I'm not going to fight anymore.
So can he fight at night?
No, he doesn't want to fight at all anymore.
He's done. He's over.
So great. So I'm seeing some people right now like looking at the text. They're looking for a quote from the text,
Wait,
and then they're going to find some emotion for it.
can someone scribe?
Yes, I can scribe for both of you guys.
Wait, what's that deal?
Look for a quote, and then try to tell me what emotion that quote shows.
And don't get it.
Wait, Miss McCollum, is this good?
Yes. I don't have to read it to know that you did it right. Okay, and then what does that show me?
Alright, give me a quote.
Great. Augie, you need me to describe it to you? Sorry. Okay, what quote do you use? And what does that show? Yeah.
It's even hard to read.
It is Miss Larry's collection day. All right, guys. You guys are doing great with this. I'm going to move on to the secondary source. So the first. It's okay. Do you want some time? You and Miss Hosney can work on the primary source, and I'm going to move on to the secondary one because I only have
Like, oh,
5 minutes.
It's 7. I took it.
7 minutes, thank you. All right, so really quick, I'm going to read the next one, and we can actually do the next one together, okay? And then I will, where did I put that? Okay. So, this is a secondary source. This is from a textbook, okay? When I read this, I want you to think about a quote. And now this is going to give you some more background information to these emotions that we're thinking about, right? So one is a very emotional piece. It could give us some facts, but this is very factual. Excuse me. In the mid to late 1800s, the United States experienced fast westward expansion, driven by laws that encouraged settlers to claim land and establish farms. For many Americans, this represented opportunity and a chance to start anew. However, the lands offered were often already occupied by Native American tribes who had lived there for generations, relying on the land for their traditional way of life. As settlers pushed westward, conflicts arose. The U.S. government implemented policies to move Native Americans onto reservations, which were areas of land set aside specifically for Native tribes. This relocation was part of a larger strategy known as Indian removal, which clear lands from American settlers. Life on reservations was restrictive and challenging. Native Americans faced food shortages, limited freedom to practice their cultural traditions, and pressure to adopt European American ways of life, like Connor told us. The U.S. government also included new laws that intended to make Native Americans join mainstream American culture. Children were often taken from their families and placed into boarding schools where they were taught English, prohibited from speaking native languages, and instructed to abandon their cultural practices. This loss of land and choices, combined with cultural suppression, deeply impacted Native American communities, creating long-lasting consequences for their social and economic structures. Now, that was a lot of words. Give me 1 second, Connor. That was a lot of words, but I want us right now, Fed, I see a hand. Was there something in the reading that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, like, kind of like the whole thing, like, how the person who wrote this put it, it doesn't sound like as bad as it is from like the other person, but it was like the actual person that experienced it. This person just like, oh, I'm just gonna write a summary about what happened in the Western expansion.
Yes.
But like you don't feel
You don't feel it, right? Like you get the facts, but you don't feel it. You don't really feel it.
like the facts are right, but you don't feel it.
Yes, Connor.
So, can I say a fun fact now, please?
Can I go through this first and then you can say the fun fact? We're really, really close to the end, I promise. Okay, so I know this is a lot of info, a lot of words. So you can call me and Miss Hosny over if you heard something that you're having trouble finding it. I want us right now to cite a quote in the next part of our graphic organizer and then tell me what it shows. So maybe I say, children are often taken from their families, right? Then I would say this shows how hard it was for Native American children. Aggie.
It's like, oh, yeah, sure, food shortages. Oh, they were taking it.
Yeah, it's like minimizing it.
And
Yeah.
for, like other person's perspective, they're like we're dying. And, like food, our children like are freezing. Like guards and the teachers and other users. And I mean, I have
Yeah.
to tell you this. Like, can I?
Yeah. All right.
And I've
Try
got
the last part. Try the last part for me.
This Hosny?
Can you guys do it on one sheet?
I can.
I just want you guys to do the activity. I don't need your lunch. I just want you guys to do it. I want to get to the last part. Okay, so this is great. I'm seeing some really great stuff written down. Really great stuff. So I sadly think that the bell is gonna ring before I get to my exit ticket. Wait, listen. We're gonna make a little bit of like an agreement right now. For the first time and the only time, can I give you guys a 3-question word study homework that can be done in Flex? And in trade, I'll bring in donuts next class.
Yeah.
Is that a good trade?
Full chocolate. Full chocolate. Full chocolate. Wait.
Chocolate and
half
glaze. Just
chocolate.
yes. Okay, half chocolate, half glaze. Okay, so some of us are finishing up.
One Boston cream.
Okay, I'll bring you one Boston.
Two Boston cream.
Are we a Boston
And a
cream?
princess
Boston
donut.